In this tutorial, we see how to create and delete S3 bucket with the AWS CLI, the command line interface of AWS. Suppose, we want to create a new bucket named data. Open your favorite shell, and invoke the command, AWS S3 mbs3 / data -- region equals s_west1. The AWS complains a bucket with the same name already exists and suggests us to select a different name and try again. As said, the bucket namespace is shared by all users of the Amazon S3. With the large number of buckets in the system, it is likely that the name you want to use is already taken. A simple way to avoid this annoying issue is to add a unique prefix such as your company name. Let's add the prefix BAS. We successfully created our first bucket BAS data at s_west1 region. Let's explain the command. First, to communicate with Amazon S3 and run one of S3 subcommands, we start our command with AWS S3. Then, we use one of the S3 subcommands such as mb, which means make bucket. To see what the subcommand do and which arguments and options it accepts, add help after the subcommand and issue the command. As we can see, the mb subcommand requires a one argument, the S3 URL of the bucket. We can also see the specific options of the subcommand. As we can see in this case, there are no specific options. However, you can also use one of the global or common options of AWS S3 subcommands. In this example, we specify the region option to create our bucket in a particular region. If we do not specify this option, the bucket is created in the default region. The default region can be updated by AWS configure. We can also see usage examples of the subcommand. So, what S3 URL is? S3 URL represents the location of bucket, object or prefix. The S3 URL has the S3 scheme and is up to two parts separated by /. The first part is the bucket name. The second part is the object key or the prefix. To represent the location of a bucket, we only specify the bucket name. To represent the location of an object, we specify both the bucket name and the object key. To represent the location of a prefix, we specify both the bucket name and the prefix. To delete an empty bucket, you can use the subcommand rb, which means remove bucket with the S3 URL of the bucket. For example, to delete BAS data bucket, invoke AWS S3 rbs3 / BAS data. Please note that if you try to delete a non-empty bucket, you will get an error. The bucket must be completely empty before it can be deleted. In other words, you must delete all the versioned and unversioned objects in the bucket before you can delete it. You can delete all the objects in the bucket manually. To delete the unversioned objects, you can use the AWS S3 rm subcommand. To delete the versioned objects, you can use the AWS S3 API delete object command with the -version ID option. If you have only unversioned objects in the bucket, you can use the force option to delete all the unversioned objects in the bucket before deleting the bucket itself. Notice that the deletion will fail if you have versioned objects. Use this option with caution, as this action cannot be undone. As we see, we successfully deleted the bucket with this option. Note that all objects in the bucket were deleted before the bucket was deleted.
For more tutorials about AWS and DevOps, subscribe to our channel.